of the National Leadership Conclave. And we will have the pleasure of having with us Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, Minister of State, Independent Charge of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, and Minister of State of Parliamentary Affairs, Government of India. We are expecting the Honorable Minister to be here with us any moment, so please bear with us. All the members of the audience who are trying to interact with the esteemed speakers to please kindly do so outside. Do not clog this space because this is also the space for our next set of speakers to come from. If you're trying to interact with the esteemed speakers, may I request you to please do so outside? And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see on screen that we are doing a live opinion poll. So those of you who would like to participate, in fact, we would request you all to participate. Please download the AIMA Android and iPhone mobile app from www.aima.in or Google Play Store or iTunes Store. You can participate in the poll using the credentials. The username is NLC and the password is AIMA. And the non-Android and non-iOS smartphone users can click on the NLC live poll link on www.aima.in. And ladies and gentlemen, let's move on now to the poll question for this session. Can Skill India program make India's workforce globally competitive? Yes, no, maybe. Whatever your response is, we will request you to please log on to the AIMA app or website and do participate. A very warm welcome to the Honorable Minister, Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, the Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, and Minister of State of Parliamentary Affairs, Government of India. We take the opportunity of welcoming on stage Mr. Firdose Vandrevala, President, All India Management Association, Mr. Sanjiv Goenka, Conclave Chairman and Chairman, RP-Sanjiv Goenka Group, and Ms. Rekha Sethi, Director General, AIMA. Extend a very warm welcome to all the dignitaries. And may I now request Ms. Rekha Sethi, Director General, AIMA, to give her introductory address.
Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, Minister of State of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship and Minister of State of Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Firdose Vandrevala, President AIMA, Mr. Sanjiv Goenka, Conclave Chairman and Chairman RP-Sanjiv Goenka Group. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the valedictory session of the National Leadership Conclave. We are privileged to have with us the Honorable Minister of State for Skills Development and Entrepreneurship and Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy. Thank you, sir, for taking time out from your busy schedule, especially during Parliament, and for agreeing to address the conclave today. It is only appropriate to bring the conclave to a close with a discussion on a topic of emerging importance, developing skills and igniting in entrepreneurship in people. The success of the country's growth strategy depends on its ability to make people employable and to create greater income opportunities. The Skill India program is at the heart of the government's various programs to accelerate growth and create jobs, and the proposal to invest 1,700 crores in multi-skill development institutes is a very welcome step in the right direction. AIMA too is playing its part in building a skilled and entrepreneurial India. AIMA was instrumental in setting up of the Management and Entrepreneurship and Professional Skills Council to make India's youth more employable and India's workforce more productive. The Skill Council will provide an additional boost to AIMA's existing initiatives to build management capability and enhance management expertise in the nation. As the sole promoter of the Skills Council, AIMA will now be able to make a larger contribution to India's skills and entrepreneurship development programs. We are privileged to have the Honorable Minister here with us today to give us a roadmap for building a world-class workforce. His efforts and resourcefulness in building a skilled and entrepreneurial India is truly commendable and very inspirational. With these words, it is my pleasure to invite the Conclave Chairman, Mr. Sanjiv Goenka, to deliver the welcome address. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the valedictory session of this conclave. It's an absolute privilege to have the Honorable Minister. It's a privilege to have any minister. It's a greater privilege to have a man whom you respect, whom you admire, and whom you deeply, deeply want to succeed. He's a man who's risen from the ranks, from student politics. He's a man who's held many portfolios in successive governments. He's a man who's achieved success in each of the portfolios he's held. He's a man on whom today the youth pins a lot of hope. If we are going to see a new India, if we are going to see a skilled India, if we are going to see a youth that is capable of standing on their feet, capable of delivering, the expectations are on this gentleman. And he's rising to the expectation, he's fulfilling the expectation, and he's surpassing the expectations. He's qualified in multiple fields. It's amazing how he succeeds in every field that he gets into. All I can say is that we as a nation are privileged to have him where he is. We are honored that he is here with us. He is an exceptional achiever, an outstanding politician, a make-it-happen minister. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy.
Good afternoon, Namaskar. Thank you, Sanjeev, for introducing me. I believe Mr. Firdose, Rekha ji, and participants and distinguished past presidents, and I believe you had a two-day session and many issues have been taken up. I was going through the agenda. And for this concluding session, I was invited to speak on something which is possibly being talked a lot these days. Well, much more than I think I have been doing in my ministry, I have become a votary of this campaign which has been put up by the Prime Minister. And skills is something which possibly is a part of our life which most of us would not recognize it. And why skill has become so important and why did the Prime Minister decide to create a separate ministry for skill is something which intrigued me, because when I was given this charge to begin this ministry, it came as a department when the government was formed and subsequently elevated to become a ministry, a full-fledged ministry. So there were issues which were being discussed, but when I looked into the certain statistics and I thought that this possibly could be a reason why the Prime Minister thought that let's create a separate ministry. It's not that skills were not happening in this country. There were skills which were existing. But why did the Prime Minister, and one of the basic statistics which reveals If you look at China or for that United States of America or for that matter, United Kingdom. Today, United Kingdom is about, out of the workforce, 68% is skilled. If you look at Germany, out of every 100 people, 74% is skilled to get employed. Look at Japan, it's 80% of the workforce is skilled. If you look at Korea now, 96% of the workforce is skilled. The National Sample Survey Organization reveals that in India, it's just 3.5% of the workforce which is skilled. And this is something which possibly has drawn the attention of the government. Even if we add all those traditional skills which existed in the society and which has not been mapped, it will not cross more than 5 to 6%. Now, what went wrong is something which we all, and I do not know how many ITNs are here, how many engineers are here, but majority of us who find a space in this audience or who come to the podium or who come to the dais are all those who are non-skilled. In India, all those who become big, whether a successful entrepreneur or successful industrialist, or a successful professor or a vice chancellor or a politician or whoever becomes big in this country, does not become big in this country because he's skilled. He becomes big because he has done his graduation, post-graduation, PhD, doctorate, management. The whole system has evolved around education. And last 67 years, everyone thought skills, of course, but education is more important. And as a result, I just try to connect it occasionally because I'm presuming that all of you watch television. I come from a state. In my parliamentary constituency, I have a mechanism where people come and connect to me by giving petitions in my office, which is sent to me. So in a particular month of March, all of a sudden the petitions in my office drop. No offense meant to any Bihari who is here. I am one, of course. In one particular month, there is not many people come to my office. So when I start checking up, why don't people come in my office? They say, abhi matriculation ka board ka exam chal raha hai. So when any child is appearing for a board exam or any daughter of a family is appearing for the board exam, the entire family, chacha, tau, phupa, mama, everyone gets involved in getting that examination preparation. Now that examination preparation does not end there. If some of you could recall of a visual of a 3-story high school in which people were climbing the windows and bamboo sticks were being used to put in slips, where the entire family gets organized, they are not to be faulted because they have understood that my children, if they have to become big, they have to first become a matriculate, then higher secondary, then BA, then MA, because the whole ecosystem for last 67 years has been devised to indicate that big people are all those who just have formal education. And today, please do not take it otherwise for people from media, there is a distinct bias of higher education towards skill. And as long as skills remain a part of the higher education or the education system, skills will not happen in this country. And that is one particular reason, because skills was a part of, out of 60,000 schools, only 2,000 schools would have some skill education. When earlier we thought about vocational education. So this bias has been there with higher education, and till date it is there. Now to migrate out from there and make people aspirationally move out in skills is the biggest challenge what we are facing today. The man who makes your life easy, your driver, the man who fixes up this microphone, the person who sets up the stage, the man who decorates your table and puts a flower vase there, the man who operates the television camera, the man who prepares this badge when you enter, all is a skill, but we do not identify them. Now, this was the biggest challenge because the So when we talk about India, we talk about 1,260 million people. And when we talk about the unorganized workforce, we talk about 500 million people. And this is where the statistics come around. And then the whole definition of skills, because it's not that when Rajiv, Pratap, Rudy came in as a skill minister, that skills have started. Skills have been happening in the system. But everyone has been skilling as per whoever thought whatever is required in the system, except one formal vertical of skilling which was happening in the ITIs. Under NCVT, there was no skills. So all was traditional skills or skills which the industry would create and train people, induct them and train people. And some part was apprenticeship. And for whatever archaic apprenticeship law which we had in this country, which has fortunately been revised now to remove all those stringent conditions, has not been absorbed by the industry because the industry is still very wary of the apprenticeship law which existed in this country for 40 years. Mrs. Gandhi's 20-point program, one program in the 70s was amend the Apprenticeship Act, which this government, and I will say proudly, this government after 30 years has amended that, but it's still not gone because 45 years the industry has faced the wrath of the old Apprenticeship Act. And world over apprenticeship, if China has about 3 crore, Japan has about 1 crore, and throughout the world we have just about 2 lakhs or so. We are no match. So we have absolutely created an ecosystem which has a complete mismatch with skills. We can talk about Make in India, but Make in India will not happen unless you have makers in India, which is the skilled workforce. That definition is lacking. Make in India, of course. But where are the makers in India? We have to put them. Now, the first thing what we have done today, which all of us from the industry must appreciate, is we have given in last 1 year a framework or an ecosystem for skills. And today in Government of India, there were 24 ministries with more than 80 odd schemes being done on skills. So now there is a complete framework as far as skills are concerned. And no one can go here and there because everyone has to align with that skill framework, which is called the National Skills Qualification Framework, drawn from NSQ Vocational Education Framework and from the Ministry of Labor, from level 1 to 10. It is the NSQF level 1 to 10, which is being recognized. And to make it across the world, skills have a statutory backup. India doesn't have. So far, we have an NSQF, which is our executive order of a cabinet note. But in times to come, we are going to have an NSQF Act which has a legislative backing for skills in India so that all those who pass out from ITIs who are 10 dropouts, and when they get a degree or a certificate or after 12th, an ITI student who does 12th equivalent is not recognized as an equivalent for further progression. So if you join ITI, you're over. You cannot become an engineer. So this progression from dropouts to schools to college, we are creating a framework where lateral movement at any point of time from any skill qualification to a formal education becomes an easy pathway so that he can graduate. A professor of welding in Thailand or in UK would not be one who has done his engineering degree. A professor of welding in Thailand or Bangkok would be one who has started his welding skills from class 8th and would graduate to become a PhD in welding, which we cannot appreciate. Because for us, PhDs and doctors are all MA Economics, BA Economics, and so forth and so on. The whole concept for last 60 years in the system has been not in the right direction to create skills, so this has created a scarcity. And I do not know whether some of you may be aware, the figures which exist out of 18 lakh engineering seats, our aspirations are becoming an engineer. अगर गांव देहात में आज से 5 साल पहले ये कहा जाता था कि साहब मेरा दामाद इंजीनियर है, तो people would look up कि मेरा दामाद इंजीनियर है. Today, engineers are drawing a flat salary of 90% of the engineers who pass out are drawing a flat salary of 8 to 10,000 rupees, or maybe 15,000 rupees. Because today the demand has gone down so deeply that out of 18 lakh engineering seats, 8.5 lakh engineering seats are vacant. There are no takers. Because the industry says we do not want engineers. We want people who are skilled and have a skilled manpower who can actually deliver. And that is why this whole ecosystem has come into existence. For example, today the country knows, and we all know, that there are NOSes. Each and every action, every job has been identified, and many more which we are adding. So there are about 8,000 national occupation standards. Each and every action, a man who puts your strap on your watch, the man who shows on a counter your wife ornaments in a shop, every job has been mapped, but that was not good enough. So that had to be migrated into the NSQF level, which needs a qualification pack or a job role. So qualification pack is something which took me a while to understand. And if I talk to you who may be in the industry, if you talk about a welder, if I talk to you, Mr. Goenka, about a welder, most of us, as before I came to the skilling sphere and I did not have an engineering background, I would only understand a welder who I see on the roadside or a small shop where he's making grills and gates. So for me, that is a welder, or maybe a welder somewhere else in a building or something like that. But today I recognize about 10 categories or 12 categories of welder. And all have a different, one who makes steel windows and doors. The other is who is working on an Hyundai Motors assembly line where he puts 10 stitches in about 2 minutes with a different torch, and the assembly line moves. But his work conditions, his training is different, his whole qualification pack of being a welder for a sachet or a movement of a plant is different. But if I look into gas pipeline, Hajira, Bijapur gas pipeline, the welders who are working there in open have different flame, have different torch. They have a different qualification for working on that. They have different safety and regulatory conditions. They are also welder and the pay scales are different. And there is a welder who goes down deep into the sea working in an oil rig. So he's a scuba diver. He has a torch which is different. His training is different. And he gets a salary of 2 lakh rupees. Or someone who dives below the sea and welds a frame inside a ship. So for me, the welders are of a different category altogether. But for a common man, so this would convert. For example, it's a simple way to explain a qualification pack. And all this is put into a system which people have to understand. And I'll come back to the industry. Would not make a right reference, but I'm the only parliamentarian and an individual who flies big planes. I'm a captain with one of the largest airlines in the country, and I fly A320 jets. Now, for me to be a captain on an airline, and most of you, I do not know if anyone has flown with me, but, oh, you have flown with me. You also have, many have flown with me, so it proves a point that I'm just not a politician. So I have to have a CPL which is a flying, so from holding a CPL I can become an instructor, but if I have to become an A320 pilot, I have to do my navigation course, pass my navigation, metrology, and air traffic controller. And all this combined makes me a qualification pack for a pilot. So we have developed all this, which is moving in a big way to have the right ecosystem for skills. But there is a challenge to integrate it with the industry. Now, the biggest challenge what we are facing is that industry for last 2 decades has been saying that we do not have the right manpower. We do not need very qualified people. We need entry-level people who can build up the industry. And they could be good ITNs or IITs and things for like that. But there's a big shortage. And that is why in the private space, a sector skill concept under NSQF was created by industry. And today we have the sector skill concept for construction, for autos, for retail, for life sciences, for health, for adventure, for tourism, for sports, for all the fields. And all this body is being headed by the industry. If we are talking about hospitality, there is Mr. Oberoi who heads the Hospitality Sector Skill Council. If you're talking about many more such, and the industry has to decide to create what is required for what job role. If someone is required for a particular job role, we do not need a whole exercise of engineering for that. We require entry-level jobs, which possibly in Germany and France and other places are more organized. But we have to create that. And people talk about plumbers and other things, and these are smaller versions of our requirement. So what we are doing today is create a right ecosystem. I can tell you many more examples. The Peruvian ambassador here was upset with me because I had quoted this. But can you actually imagine that Peru, Lima is about 18,000 kilometers from Delhi? And visas were being issued in the embassy at Peru for Peruvian nationals to come down to Delhi and Jaipur to operate backhoe operators, long hole drill operators, and all those heavy machines. So just imagine, so far in last so many years, we have not been able to create a right ecosystem even to operate big machines, compactors, graders, and so forth on. So there is something. I come from the state of Bihar, and the adjoining state is Jharkhand. Tata Motors exists in Jharkhand. They manufacture telco trucks. But for last 21 years, not one heavy vehicle license has been issued in the state of Jharkhand or Bihar. So there's something very wrong about skills which we have actually not assessed. Now, how do we move forward? The Prime Minister said that we have to integrate, but what is short-term skilling is just trying to give a feed to the requirement of the industry, but we have to integrate both skills and entrepreneurship right from school stage. And if we are unable to integrate skilling from school stage, because everyone cannot become the top boss, he has to laterally move out for his employment at whatever age he finds himself worthy of. And he should be allowed to move out of the system, use his skills to be employed, and subsequently, if he's good enough, then equivalence should be established for him to have a path of progression. And this is the paradigm change what we are talking about. So we are moving in that direction. The Prime Minister is absolutely clear that we have to create this workforce which is for the industry. And I can give you many more examples of this, but it will take a lot of time. But we are absolutely clear the roadmap for skills is very well created. But industry has to come forward and partner us. And we have given every possible model to the industry to skills cannot be only government. When you're talking about Swachh Bharat, skills is a part of a national campaign. Every industry has to move in this direction to partner us to create skills for the backlog which we have created in this country. Even language is a skill. And today, if you don't educate anyone, let him not pass his matriculation or anything, if you could just 10th dropout, you experiment. I can give you 100 boys and girls. 10th pass out or not even a 10th. If you can give him a 6 months course and if he can speak English, he's well groomed, he can carry himself along, he's good enough for employment. Let's forget any degree. Industry is looking. I was in one of resorts in Jodhpur. So the boys who came to my room would speak, "Welcome, sir. Enjoy your meal, sir. How is your stay, sir?" So I started talking to him in English. He did not know the 5th sentence. Because the owner had worked very hard to exactly explain him the gestures after each action. And they were doing so well. So, but one of them was speaking better. So he said, after I learned all that, I saw that my tips went up. So he used the apps to promote himself in English. So it's a mindset. While in the cockpit, while I was flying, and I'll tell you the disconnect. So I would generally say hello to the girls who would come and serve tea or coffee and talk to them about the background. And 90 out of every 100 girls who flew in Indigo, 95 girls who come as air hostesses or who are there as a crew, 95 would be from Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, all the metros. 5 would be from Raipur, Patna, Jharkhand. It's not that the girls there are not smart. The girls there are not educated, or the girls there are not, they cannot join. Simply their grooming and English is a constraint. And the day they are over it, they are good enough. So there are a lot of gaps in almost every sector because the entire focus of our system has been education, education, and education degrees. And my aspiration would be the day, today we have matrimonials ads which reads that I need a daughter-in-law who is a graduate or a postgraduate or a scientist or my son-in-law is an engineer or a doctor or an IAS officer or an IPS officer. We would think in this government we would have achieved when there are advertisements in these matrimonial columns which says, I need a son-in-law who is a master chef or a master plumber. I do not know when it's going to happen. but we'll wait for the time when it happens, and this is our aspiration. Thank you very much. I'm open to questions. I would be there if anyone wants to ask.
Thank you, sir. That was, as expected, very useful and very informative. Please identify yourself and ask your questions. Yes?
My name is Ramashankar Pandey. I'm managing director of a German lighting company called Hella India Lighting. My question is, in the NSDC, I think there's a lot of industry participation, and we are very fortunate in the automotive skill sector. Like a lot of industry-oriented things are being worked, and the idea of industry participating is well done. We are doing a lot on the supply side of skill, and I think you personally are going everywhere 24/7. We are also worried from the demand side. Like you said, the matrimonial ads should tell tomorrow that I need this. You have a lot of industry wizard from the branding side, marketing side. Can you do something from the marketing side to create the brand of these technicians? Like if you go to Germany or any other country, these technicians or the skilled people have a social reputation. To build the reputation in a very small time or a quick time, of course it will happen over a longer period, but in a small time, can we do something together to create this brand image of skilled people or a driver or somebody actually aiming for a job of a driver which does not exist?
Well, there cannot be a very structured answer to this, but that is the biggest challenge. But what we are doing is, for example, there could be many more such things which we are doing, this is just an example, and this is how we are moving. And I said, when engineering colleges, at this point of time, out of 3,000 engineering colleges with big names, 300 colleges have shut down their whole infrastructure of an engineering hostel, rooms, labs, teacher, faculty. So we are picking up these engineering colleges, where right from school dropouts we'll be giving them ITIs to these colleges, and then integrating them to diploma, and then 5 years in that same college to engineering. What we are doing is, if a boy from a village goes and he's doing his driving course in Somaiya College of Engineering, that itself is an aspirational. When a village boy is going to that engineering college on his cycle, and if people ask him, where did you do your driving course, or where did you do your course, and he says, in that Somaiya College of Engineering, which could be a school dropout, possibly that is the day, because such people do not have an access to aspirational locations. People don't go to Stephens, everyone doesn't go to Oxford. That is how aspirational. So we are trying to vertically integrate skillings to a larger ecosystem of higher education, so that visibility of aspiration also gets created. This is one formula. There are many more which we are creating.
There is a question here. Have you been really able to walk the talk as far as B-class cities are concerned, so as to generate employment with regard to skill development? This is from Vibhav Vajpayee of Allahabad Management Association.
Vibha, I can only say, I will not mix my job. My job is to create the ecosystem for skills, make it aspirational, proliferate it, provide support to those institutions who want to do skill. And of course, this is the supply side of it. The demand side of it is not my job, but presuming that as the government is performing on many more fronts, the economy is going to trigger off, and especially in the world scenario, still India has one of the best economic situation, and we are heading for a 2-digit mark with about 10 lakh crores investment coming in next 5 years in road sector and in ports and railways. So it's going to trigger off. So creating employment is a part of the overall economic process, but providing the supply side of the manpower is my job, so we are putting the right ecosystem there.
Yes.
My name is Surjit Bawa. I run a IT company. My question is, what will be the system, the process of delivery of skills? Why I am asking, take electricians, plumbers, they are currently so bad. For example, every day the fires are taking place, the source is diagnosed as short circuit. Nobody goes after who's the electrician. There are devices to which switch off when there's a short circuit, but it happens. If senior electricians are going to deliver this kind of training, then we'll not end up anywhere. I would suggest we need to import a few excellent engineers and excellent plumbers who can create an ecosystem of delivery. You see, today, an electrician comes, on the wall he fixes up the switches, etc., and he spoils the wall.
Sir, I'll just come back to you on that. It's an absolute thing, what you're saying. And none of us here, if anyone is asked to put a picture frame on the wall with a drill and some screws, none of us can do it, and it's the truth. Can you do it, Sanjiv? Can you do it, Rekha? You can. Thank you. I do. So in the US or any other developed country, a man is a gentleman. He's treated as a gentleman who can take care of all these things as a part of a skill in the family. For us, it is not considered as something. If we would have been using a drill and hanging pictures and wanting to put wires, Dad would have got very upset that my industrial son is getting into all these things. It's not happened. This whole psychology. So when you say, I would not agree to one thing. Since India is huge, you see, I visit Seychelles. So when I visit Seychelles, people say, oh, everyone in India has all talked about Seychelles. So it has a prime minister, there is a prime minister, there is a president, there is a A380 lands in the airport there, and there is a cabinet, there is a council, there are members of parliament. But when you look into the fact sheet, it's a country with 80,000 people. Now, 80,000 people, highest GDP, everything is okay. You're talking about 1,260 million people where the ecosystem has not come in. But I can tell you, for example, if Schneider is doing electrician training with partnership with the training partners, they are providing you the world's best electricians. And I can tell you hundreds of locations. If GMR at near the Delhi airport is giving a kit for training electricians, but these numbers are small. Why you don't find them? And our job is to create this management skill information system to put them on a platform where you can have certified manpower. A person who comes in my house till date, a person who spends an hour as an electrician gets a $100 bill, by 8,000 rupees. And he comes in. So I'm trying to talk. I've asked the skills councils to develop a person where entrepreneurship is also there. A man who walks into your house knows how to fix up your stove, your microwave, your washing machine, fix up the bulbs, hang some pictures, come in his lorry, say hello to you, wear good t-shirts, be smart. We are trying to build up all this. So it's still imaginative. And there are very good electricians, but the numbers are few, and I'm sure that is the problem which we are trying to create, because this bandwidth is very small. So I agree with you, but the process has been initiated and this is taking place. Maybe in a year or two, you'll not find this paucity.
Yes, sir.
Skilled operators. But my question is are you also thinking of a mechanism for assessment and accreditation at each levels of these skilled operators?
Sir, absolutely. Make my job very clear. In the ministry, what I do is mobilization. Mobilization would mean identifying those people who have to be trained, skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, school dropouts. This is mobilization. And when this mobilization has to take place, the people have to be trained under certain framework, criteria, qualification, some curriculum, some content. That's our job. And then assessment has to take place. So there is a whole ecosystem. We have a very weak ecosystem for assessment. That is also what I'm trying to prove. And once the assessment is completed, there should be a certification which is recognized by the industry, and then placement. But there is a huge challenge. And when we talk about 500 million people, all of us must appreciate that several lakhs and lakhs of crores have been spent on education. Today, if we talk about 500 million people and 56% of that 500 million people in the rural sector, even if we leave that, we are left with 250 million people. a million people join us every year, 10 million people in addition, next 5 years, 50 million people. So 300 million people have to be trained right away. So when we talk about 300 million people, and the cost today is, if you have to train 100 people, 30 can bear his cost. 70 has to be paid for. So out of these 300 million people, at least 220 million people have to be paid for their training. And the average cost of training an individual would be 20,000 rupees. So it requires at least 4.5 lakh crores in next 5 years. That means 1 lakh crore with the right ecosystem to train such people every year, if you just want to come add to what should have been done in last 50 years. Where is this money? Today I have a budget of 1,500 crores. I would ask other ministries combined together another few thousand crores, another industry put together about 7,000 to 8,000 crores. But still there is a gap of about 1:10. So there is something which has to be institutionally put in place. And if we could have done this with the university and school education for the last 20 years, possibly this situation may not have existed. But now we have detected the flaw, and we are trying to plug in the gaps, and Prime Minister has given me a full free hand. It's going to happen. Many more things are going to happen. I understand, but I understand what you say, and please have the patience and bear with us, because this is something which had not happened there, and we are trying to build it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. My name is Marian, co-founder of the Change Express, a company in Delhi, 8 years back. I'm really enthusiastic about the concept Make in India. And not only by mouth, also by buying the products on the Sabsiwala, of course, but also in the electronic shops. You know, the dryer, the iron, the washing machine, the microwave, etc. After installed, then another game happens. Because I'm never alone. All kinds of suppliers, very nice guys, came into my house and still coming into my house because fixing one, maybe a little bit fault. And that's what I call the learning process of Make in India. Now, my question is how to integrate the technical skills with the emotional and the maturity skills. Because after installing, a supplier came again, and a very good skilled man, technical skilled man. He just repaired a little thing, but after 5 times, I give him a little bit feedback. And then another game starts. That's the game about how to stay polite, how to stay service-oriented because you are a client. And that's sometimes a little bit difficult. That's not a problem. That's increasing the quality of Make in India, and I accept that. My question to you is, how to balance the technical skills with also the so wanted and the so needed maturity skills, emotional skills?
I think what you said is correct. I would appreciate it. But that should be a part of the module to train people who come for service, to connect not only technically, but also in your personality, behavior, you know. Now, we are struggling with all these issues. It's not that you only face it, I also face it. But the bandwidth of this is so big. So the product which you are looking for as a human individual, to be trained at that level is something what I, at this point of time, I'm not aiming, because I have numbers which are very important. But as the demand and supply situation creates, that you will always look for a serviceman who has these etiquettes to take care of when you are entering a house, which possibly would be a while before we can achieve it. It can happen in metros, it can happen in, but still I think you have a very valid point, but we still are struggling to even to connect to the most bottom line. But I'm sure in a couple of years or maybe more, it should happen. I'm sure it should happen.
Sir, just a minute, just a minute, sir. Just a minute. There's a question here.
I have missed the opportunity so many times. This time you also had an opportunity. Good afternoon, I'm Manjul, I'm member of AIMA. In recent budget, FM gave thrust on development of rural India. Rural India can develop if they have a skilled and trained manpower. So what your ministry is doing to a skilled rural India? And as you rightly pointed out, 95 aerosters are from metro and 5 are from other parts. So how can you tap this disparity? What's your plan?
जो क्वेश्चन मैंने आपसे किया वही क्वेश्चन आप मुझसे कर दे रहे हैं, तो कठिन है। कैसे कर रहे हैं, इसी का रूपरेखा तैयार करने के लिए हम लोगों ने इतना बड़ी बात कही और उसी को करना है। देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने इस बार फोकस ग्रामीण क्षेत्र की तरफ, पब्लिक स्पेंडिंग करना था। कॉरपोरेट्स के पास, इंडस्ट्री के पास पैसे नहीं थे, तो सरकार ने स्वयं तय किया कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में, रूरल एरिया में हम बड़ी निवेश करेंगे। All this will trigger some demand, but to create that manpower is exactly what the challenge I'm facing, and to connect rural areas as well, because our job is to create that manpower at the entry level. आज भी इस देश में बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग हैं जो 1000, 2000, 3000 रुपए की आय पर अपनी जिंदगी महीने की काट रहे हैं, और ये 1-2 की संख्या नहीं है, ये 50 करोड़ लोग इस प्रकार से हैं जिनकी जिंदगी 1000, 2000, 3000 रुपये, 4000 रुपये में, और वो उस दुनिया से आपकी मुलाकात आपके जीवन काल में तस्वीरों में होती होगी। कभी राह चलते गाड़ी गुजरना हो, कभी आप ट्रिप पर गए, सफारी पर गए तो दिखते होंगे, अदरवाइज आपको नहीं दिखते। हमें ये रोज दिखते हैं क्योंकि हमें लौट के वहाँ जाना होता है। और अगर जिसकी आमदनी 3000 है और उसको हम 13000 पहुँचा सके तो हमारे लिए सबसे बड़ी उपलब्धि है, और उसके लिए वो लाखों रुपये के बराबर है। सो वी आर स्ट्रगलिंग विद दैट इशू, एंड माई pyramid is the bottom pyramid. I'm not talking about engineers and doctors. I'm talking about a pyramid. The most bottom who will be happy to go into one of his power plant or one of his places where he can weld and earn 25,000 rupees. My target is that. And this would be the real wealth. And if this is created here, and we go to cruises, and many of you must have been on cruises. They need English, they need personality, they don't look for qualification, they need a passport. Out of every 100 individual working on a cruise, 95 would be from Thailand, from Malaysia, from Indonesia, 5 would be from India. And every 5th and the 6th man trotting on the 4th, 5th and 6th man trotting on the globe is an Indian or a Chinese, but you'll not find them because the basics have been absolutely wrong. So what you say is, we have to move out. This huge manpower has to move out now. They have to be trained to be good enough internationally. So, एक दिन में ये नहीं होगा। हम लोग विषय समझ गए हैं, अब इसको करने के लिए रूपरेखा अलग-अलग है. We are working on that.
Sir, there is a sequence. Sir, you can't, don't jump the sequence. Yes, please.
Thank you, Sanjiv. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, Rudy ji. My name is Sumit Chaudhary. I represent Third Millennium. मेरा जो example होगा वो थोड़ा funny होगा, but that skill is very important and we see it all around us. And I need a comment from you, sir. The skill is, what we saw in the Bihar elections is that your friend turned foe, and your foe, they join hands and defeat you. So this is the kind of skill we see all around us, buttering and bribing, your way to success. So what would you like to do to curb this kind of instinct which is spreading like cancer all around us? Thank you so much.
कह लीजिए, वो तो भुक्तभोगी हैं, तो हमसे क्या बात करना है. मोस्ट ऑफ यू, देखिए संकट कहाँ है, आपसे मैं जरा पूछूं, आप छोड़ दीजिए. इस पूरी सभा में मैं दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं कि 95% से 99% ये संकट कहाँ आता है. आप लोग इस बात को मैं बोल दूंगा फिर से. 95% लोग, और मैं दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं कि उससे भी कम लोग इस बात को बताने की स्थिति में होंगे कि मैं, राजीव, प्रताप, रूडी जो इस ऑडियंस में है, पिछले से 10-30 साल से इस देश के राजनीति में है, वो किसको चुनाव हरा के आता है. किसी ने बोलना नहीं है, बट कितने लोग जानते हैं कि उस व्यक्ति का नाम जिसको मैं चुनाव हरा के आता हूं. एक बार हाथ उठाइए. आपको एक, इतनी बड़ी सभा है, 2, 3, 4. ऑल ऑफ यू आर द टॉप मोस्ट पीपल इन दिस कंट्री. बट लेकिन मैं बता दूं कि जिसको मैं चुनाव हरा के आता हूं, उसको यहां का एक एक आदमी जानता होगा. आप लोग को अब अंदाजा लगने लगेगा, क्योंकि आप भी मेरे भाषा को, मेरे अंग्रेजी को, मैं उसी पॉलिटिकल हॉटबेड से बिहार के आता हूं जहां लालू यादव और राबड़ी देवी है। और आपके जानकारी के लिए मैंने आप लोगों से इसीलिए कहा, यही देश का संकट है। आप में से 99% ये बात को नहीं जानते हैं कि पिछले 30 साल से मैं लालू यादव के खिलाफ चुनाव लड़ता हूं और इस बार मैं राबड़ी देवी को हरा के आया हूं। संकट ये है। लेकिन जब आप मुझे एनडीटीवी पर और टाइम्स नाउ पर अंग्रेजी में देखते हैं तो उस दुनिया से मुझे कनेक्ट करने के लिए तैयार नहीं है। और मेरी कमी सबसे बड़ी ये है कि मैं उस वेशभूषे में आपके पास नहीं आता हूं, क्योंकि मैं आपके रंग रूप और आपके विचारों से दिखता हूं। इसलिए इस देश की यह हालत है। Because none of you know who I am. But last 30 years, right from my college days, I have been struggling a battle in Bihar with the most hardcore politician and hardcore politics in the country. And I've survived that to be here for last 30 years. But all of you do not know who I am. This is the problem. आपको नहीं पता होगा, आप लोगों को नहीं पता होगा, तो फिर आपका सवाल का रास्ता कैसे निकलेगा? नहीं निकलेगा साहब, कभी नहीं निकलेगा, इसलिए कि ये सब अंग्रेजी कोई मायने नहीं रखता है वहां पर। ये सब कोई वहां पर इसका कोई रेफरेंस नहीं है। चलिए, आप कुछ कह रहे थे।
In India,
I hope
but
you're
your
not
ministry is
giving me
doing
speech.
very well. But at simultaneously,
I hope it's not a speech, sir.
No, not speech, only 1 minute.
No, 1 minute is
But
too.
please,
Just question and brief.
simultaneously, I want the pressure should be created on another ministries also for job opportunities. Even at present, the very senior software engineers and these teachers having all qualifications, they're not getting jobs. Other ministries should also be put on pressure to create jobs. Thank you.
नहीं, एक चीज should not be, whether it's Lalu Yadav, Nitish Kumar, anyone, should not be taken personal. I'm just quoting it as an example. It's not, democracy has every right for everyone to get elected, and people choose and decide. And people choose and decide, and they have a government. So to demean anyone would not be correct, and that is not my philosophy. So that has to be kept in mind. It's not the idea just to prove my point. So that has to be taken from that person, because there would be people who believe in him and they vote for him. So no business to comment about the ability of individuals who are elected. So that has to be taken into account. It's just a part of the discourse which we are discussing. Yeah.
I think we've heard your suggestion and noted your comment. I think
time for lunch.
Time for lunch. Firdose.
Rajiv, Rudy, Minister of Entrepreneurship and Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs, Ms. Rekha. And in my script, I had gentlemen speech. I've removed ladies and gentlemen and added makers of India. It is my privilege to bring the proceedings of this conclave to a close. It has been a very exciting conclave, and I'm sure that everyone has enjoyed being part of it. As you may have noticed, we had 11 sessions, because any team game has 11 players, and we decided that eventually, if we have to make in India and make it what we want it to be, let's make it 11 sessions. Honorable Minister, it is an honor to have you with us. Your ministry, as we've heard, is playing a very critical role in transforming India's workforce and the Indian economy. AIMA is privileged to be part of the movement to build a skilled and entrepreneurial India. While listening to your speech, I couldn't help but remember the definition of a specialist and a generalist. A specialist, we say, is one who knows more and more of less and less till he knows everything about nothing. And a generalist is one who knows more and less of more and more till he knows nothing about everything. So we don't want any of these two situations to happen. Even when listening to you, I couldn't help but remember when you talked about education and engineers and skills, what my dad used to tell me, the difference between intelligence and wisdom. He says, I'm sending you to IIT, so you'll become intelligent, but don't forget, you also have to be wise, and there is a difference. And same thing between personality and character. One can try to get a good personality by wearing a good suit, but that does not necessarily mean you have a good character. My dad did send me to IIT. But I must tell you that, and I salute him today, that even during my vocational training, he made sure I developed skills. So, Sanjiv, the CSC cables at Bentic Street and Chittaranjan Avenue crossing, he made sure I did high voltage cable jointing. My only regret is I didn't do the same for my children. So thank you for putting that little pinprick into me to say that it's enough to educate our children, but it's equally important to bring some skills into them. And I do remember my father for all that he did for me. You'll be... I know, it's unfortunate, and I'm guilty of it. I didn't do for my children what my father did for me. AIMA has sponsored the Management and Entrepreneurship and Professional Skills Council under the guidance of the National Skills Development Corporation. This Skills Council will develop occupational standards, training content and methodology, and certification mechanism for business skills required of every sector of the economy. As an emerging sector skills council, the MEPSC is committed to create technically and professionally competent workforce and industry professionals for both the national and the international markets. Towards this end, MEPSC is a horizontal sector skill catering to the skill needs of the various sectors. The MEPSC is targeting to train and certify approximately 500,000 trainees, develop and frame 50 qualification packs, national occupational standards, and train more than 550 trainers over the next 10 years. Skill development initiatives will be undertaken in 4 key domains of professional skills, entrepreneurial skills, office management skills, and training skills. Innovation will be a prerequisite in ensuring right skills and employment to the youth to meet their aspirations. With advancement in technology and shrinking jobs, entrepreneurship is the way forward, which needs to be optimally utilized to achieve the stated mission of the Skilled India. Importantly, AIMA is trying to make these skills internationally portable by partnering with NOCN of UK. NOCN is a leading training and skills certification body in the UK, and its qualifications are recognized in many countries in Europe and beyond. We recognize that the labor market is becoming global, and India has an opportunity to become a global resource for trained and skilled workforce. I congratulate the government for giving the highest priority to skill development. The pace of formal training for the workforce has picked up, and nearly 5.5 million people are enrolling in training today. Clearly, the country is moving in the right direction as far as skill development is concerned, and I am very hopeful that the demographic dividend will not go waste. I congratulate the Honorable Minister for his energetic leadership and his commitment to building a skilled and entrepreneurial India. In addition to putting focus on skill development, the conclave has highlighted many policy and business issues and tried to create a roadmap for India to be a creative superpower with breakthrough thinking. The Union Budget, which is the main instrument of economic policy, was discussed in some detail, and some fine suggestions were made to make it even better. The conclave also discussed the ways to strengthen the fundamentals of the Indian economy. Many breakthrough ideas were put forth for developing a world-class talent and entrepreneurship in India and to make India a hub of global manufacturing. I thank the conclave chairman, Mr. Goenka, for his excellent leadership in helping us make the conclave an important platform for leadership dialogue. I take this opportunity to thank all the distinguished thought leaders who addressed the conclave and showed us the way forward. I thank the sponsors for their support to the conclave, and I also thank the media for their interest. Members of the audience, you have been marvelous. I hope you enjoyed the conclave, and I thank you for your tremendous interest and enthusiasm. As we reach the culmination of the conclave, I urge everyone to imbibe the spirit of this dialogue and commit to making India a great nation. Before we conclude the conclave, may I request the conclave chairman to present a memo to the Honorable Minister. I thank all of you for participating in the conclave and making it a great success. With these words, I declare the National Leadership Conclave closed and on time.
Thank you, Mr. Vandrevala. Meanwhile, may I take the pleasure of requesting the Director General AIMA, Ms. Rekha Sethi, to kindly present a memento to Mr. Sanjiv Goenka, Conclave Chairman and Chairman, RP-Sanjiv Goenka Group. May I request Ms. Sethi to please present a memento to the Conclave Chairman, Mr. Goenka. We'd like to thank you, sir. May I request you, ma'am, to please present a memento to the President, All India Management Association, Mr. Vandrevala. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I invite you all to please join us for lunch. And as you have heard, with that, we have come to the end of the second National Leadership Conclave of AIMA. I hope all of you enjoyed the sessions over the last day and a half. We look forward to seeing you again at the next edition of AIMA's National Leadership Conclave. Thank you and have a wonderful day.